Welcome back, roomies. We got another episode of the Engine Room podcast. I'm here with Pablo and BUGA. As always, we're going to be discussing Man City, and they're checking the first box on their way to a potential treble. We'll jump over to Spain, talk about Real Madrid, and of course, some troubling news with more acts of racism in Spain. We'll be touching on that. We'll jump over to Germany, talk about Bayern Munich struggling under Tuchel. We, of course, won't go through this episode without talking about Barcelona, where they are with things, some transfer rumors coming up around the camp now. We'll be discussing that and more on today's episode. Before we dive into things, let's check in with the boys. Pablo, how we doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I think we've actually got a quite good lineup. I know we were worried maybe as the season ends that things filter out a bit, but to be fair, I think there's actually quite a good few discussion points today, and I think we can get some good debate going. So I'm doing well, John.
Yes, indeed. Good to hear it. Booga, how you doing?
And I'm doing even better because I have no idea of this lineup.
Yeah, we were putting together our topics for today, and Booga said, hey, I don't want to know. I want to go in blind for this one. So Booga's going to get surprised by these topics, but it's going to be a good episode. Like Pablo said, we are coming to the end of a season. Things are starting to wind down, but still plenty to discuss. And one of the talking points we want to begin with is Manchester City being handed the trophy, a little bit anticlimactic. What's your takeaway, folks? Is this more of a Man City win, or is this an Arsenal loss? Let's start there before we get into Man City treble hopes. Pablo, why don't we begin with you?
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry, Booga.
No, go on,
Booga, you go right ahead since you're so excited for it.
I wanted to say that I 100% think that people, of course, are praising Manchester City. I think this team is the most competitive we've seen. They've grown a lot since previous campaigns. I think last season they were, of course, an incredible team, but this year they just have that extra edge, Haaland added to the squad. But I just cannot move away from the fact that this also has to be at least 50% or even more, in my eyes, of a capitulation, just simply a bottle from Arsenal. I really do think that. They were at a point 11 points clear, and that is something that if I'm an Arsenal fan, I will be just devastated. It's almost at a point, Barcelona were also 11 points difference, and they never gave that up. And I think that things like that, Napoli as well, will be like Napoli giving up Serie A. And those instances, yes, they have to be called like a bottle. They Arsenal did bottle the league in my eyes as well. I think that Manchester City, of course, just did Manchester City things, and they're gonna end up first. That's what they do. But Arsenal had the opportunity here of a lifetime to stay on top. Even if they lost both games against Manchester City, they still could have been at this point champions. So yeah.
For Arsenal, is there any consolation that they are at least back in Champions League for next year? Like, are there any Arsenal fans out there going, well, at least, or is the focus fully on that they couldn't get that title?
To be honest, I think Arsenal have been let off like massively with the way the media has handled this capitulation of the title. From England anyway, I've seen so much sympathy for them actually, and I've thought, what? Like, what's the sympathy? Not for them. I think we touched on this last week as well. Not only for them to lose the league, which okay can happen to City, and I definitely want to talk about City in a minute because for me they're outrageously good and just an incredible team. But for Arsenal, I think like Bulgar said it, he's right. Like, imagine if Barca lost the league. Imagine Spain. Spain would be in flames if Barca lost the league right now. If Real Madrid
not just Spain.
Yeah,
the whole footballing world would be throwing.
If Real Madrid took this league off Barcelona, everyone would be talking about it. To be fair, if Napoli lost it, I think everyone would go like, "Wow, that's a story." And look, I do agree that City, when they're breathing down your neck, of course, that's not a pleasant place to be in. But for me, it felt like there were times in the season where I think we've said it several times over the season where City looked like, yeah, not the league this year, just can't get it together. And I think for Arsenal to just, I mean, that's when titles are won, you know, and at that moment in time, they came into those crucial games and they bottled it. And to be fair, loads of pundits said they would do that. Like people like Gary Neville, who I'm not that fond of anymore, but he did say that and he was spot on. So I think for Arsenal to lose it with 3 games to spare, I think it's devastating. And yes, being back in Champions League is good. And to be fair, the season as a whole is good for Arsenal. It's much better, of course it is, than what they've been doing. And clearly they are improving under Arteta, but I'm not sure they'll replicate a title charge next season or in the foreseeable future, actually. I think that's the worry with football and life, to be honest. Often the time is now, right? You know, if you lose an opportunity, okay, you might get another one, but it probably won't be the same.
Yeah, I think this would have been their year, right? No Champions League. They had an early exit from Europa.
Yeah.
They had a pretty clear calendar outside of the Premier League and couldn't do it. And I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe you guys have seen reports that I'm not seeing. I'm not hearing anything in terms of transfer rumors, what they're going to do to change things. I mean, if we see the exact same Arsenal next season, are we going to see any different results?
I think it matters as well about the opponents. Like this year, Arsenal shocked everyone. And now everyone's going to be like, okay, Arsenal, we need to prepare for that game even more.
Yeah.
And that is something that is going to be much different for Arteta. Now you need to handle the pressure of actually being a proper team. And that is different because this year it was Arsenal. What the hell? Arsenal are playing amazing football. Wow, what? And this next year is going to be like, oh, Arsenal. You know, like I feel that's the difference a little bit. They're going to give the mutual respect to Arteta and its team that deserve. But also, I think what really is going to hamper Arsenal is the fact that they bottle the league and they're just more Arsenal, and I think that's going to hurt them quite a bit.
Oh my goodness, too funny. All right, well let's move on from Arsenal. Let's talk Man City, because I messaged you guys during yesterday's game. Just had to say, I am so impressed by Man City. I think one of the commentators mentioned it, but top to bottom, you can replace any player on Man City's roster with somebody off the bench, and not saying it's the same level of talent, but the level of understanding from the system and the tactics and what Pep expects from them in their role is absolutely incredible. There is fill-in after fill-in at Man City. I mean, you could put out 2 starting 11s to compete in Europe. It's absolutely incredible.
For me, it's the best team since Pep's Barca. And I mean, unfortunately, when I speak about them, and I did a tweet the other day, and someone commented, about all of their, of course, dodgy financial stuff they've got going on behind the scene, and they're probably not the most clean club. And I do understand that, but only to an extent, because of course they shouldn't necessarily be in a situation where they can have this much financial power, and what they've done probably was illegal and not, right, certainly in regards to human rights and stuff from Abu Dhabi and their group. But we've seen so many teams spend millions and billions of pounds, like Chelsea this season. Manchester United have spent a heap of money in the past. But City, what they've done is they've got the structure to perfection. They've got Barcelona's structure really from the board of Jan Laporta in the past, with people like Ferran Soriano and Chiqui Bergerstein behind the scenes. Of course, they put Pep in as the leader of that project. And they've just got it spot on ever since. I think Pep, the way he's adapted season to season, has been outrageously good. He's not just played that 4-3-3, passing football, which maybe everyone thought he would. He keeps changing things. He keeps adapting to different opponents to the Premier League. He gets physical players in. He's open-minded. He's ruthless with players who don't fit the system. And he keeps City into this winning machine with actually maybe the strongest mentality in Europe. And actually, they're building leaders in that team as well. The likes of Gundogan and Ruben Diaz and Rodri as well, who I think is unreal. But like you say, John, I think you look all over that team. It's a joke of a team. But they've crafted that. And I always like to use this example because I think you look back to the second City signed all of these amazing players, right? And I think if you put those players as they were in every other team around England, maybe other than Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp, I don't think they do anything. Like at Chelsea, all the attackers would become flops. At United, these guys would be sold after 2 seasons or ridiculed for being crap defenders or something. But at City, he molds them into these outrageous footballers. And the way they've done it has been a joke because, like I said earlier, this season, they didn't actually look good for a lot of it. But they've come back. Yes, Arsenal bottled it, and that's what happens when you've got a team like Arsenal at the top. But they've come back. They've fought back. They're now, by the way, 2 games away from a treble, which would really write their name in history. And people are going to now remember this team for hundreds of years because it, for me, is the best team since Guardiola's Barcelona. The football is a joke. I just think everything about Man City is perfect. Like, it is incredible. But now we've got to see the big question, right? Can they win Champions League, FA Cup? Can they get it over the line? Or will they slip up in one of those games and then it's like, yeah, there you go. It's a classic Man City thing. But to be honest, I think if you told Pep, you have to play Manchester United and Inter Milan, and then you've got your treble, he would have been, I don't think he would have shut your hand quicker, would he?
Yeah, he'll take that. BUGA, if Pep wins this treble, is there any argument against him being the best manager in football of all time?
No, I think for me already Pep is the best manager. I think people consider that some big part of the public, of the general audience, of course, are always going to be against Pep. But you know what? Here's the best thing that I can explain. When you talk to those people and you say, "Hey, why don't you?" And they say like, "Oh, Pep, I don't like Pep is not the best manager of the century," and then they go, "Yeah, I just don't like the way he plays." That answer has nothing to do with how good Pep is. You cannot like the way that he plays, but still he can be good enough. And I feel that will start to change a bit if he actually managed to win the treble again, because they
Yeah.
always had the question of, oh, he had Messi, oh, he had the best teams always. But dude, if you are that good, you're gonna get the best teams. Dude, if
Yeah.
you are that good, you're gonna get the money. You're not gonna go to a place where you cannot invest and you cannot work your magic. I think the only difference, and this is a tremendous, and actually I'm gonna end up praising someone like Bielsa here, is I remember Pep said
Careful
to
now.
Bielsa, like he said, you cannot do like Pep said to Bielsa, like you can do what I do with a team like Leeds United. No, you can do what I do with a team like Bilbao, but I cannot do what you do with a team like Leeds United or Bilbao. Like that is it's true. It's true. What
Yeah.
Pep requires is athletes of the best level, and for me, when he wins this, it's already a guarantee. Like I'm not as in shock or throwing that many flowers like Pablo did a few seconds ago. Why? Because for me, it's like guaranteed they win, and it's like, okay, yeah, makes sense. It's more of the same. For me, in my eyes, that's what I feel when I think of Manchester City. I'm not
Mm.
that surprised. I'm not that if they win the treble, I'll be like, yeah, cool, they won the treble, because for me it's like already they are that good. But for some people, it takes those trophies to be quantifiable.
Yeah. I think that was their mentality with the league this whole time. I mean, throughout the entire season, I didn't get even a whiff of panic from Pep or any of the Manchester City players, like at all. There was nothing but composure throughout the entire season. It's like they knew that whatever happens, it's going to come down to the final month or so of the
Mhm.
season. And that's where you separate the champions from those that fall short. And
Mm.
they've been around the block. Pep's been there. Most of these Man City players are title
Yeah.
winners. They've got the experience. Like you said, it's not shocking. So let's get some predictions then. I know both of these matches are a little bit ahead of us, but will Man City win the treble? Yes or no? What do we think?
I'm gonna go yes. I think they've stepped it up mentality wise. Actually, I'm surprised actually how like they look like a properly strong team, and maybe that was the one thing you could doubt them. They're a bit flimsy at the final hurdle, right? But actually, I look around the team now and some videos I've seen, and I just think they're incredible. They're too much.
BUGA, they gonna do it? He's staring into his crystal ball.
I think they win the FA Cup. The Champions League, I think as well they can do it, but it's like,
Okay, I thought.
dude, I can tell. Yeah, I can envision a choke, but there. I think
BUGA, are
they're gonna do it.
you
I think
have to
that.
tell us it's a twisted take before you say something ridiculous like this.
Nah, they're gonna win the
Disclaimer, please,
treble.
as
They're gonna win
BUGA
the treble.
hints
They're
that
gonna win the
Inter
treble.
have a chance against City here.
They're gonna win. They're gonna win the treble.
I think if anything, they might slip up to Manchester United in the FA Cup final. I just think they'll go into the game with not like as much obsession as they will for the Champions League. And if De Gea, I can just envisage De Gea having one of those outrageous games where he saves everything with his leg. It goes to extra time. United start to build. It's a derby. United actually are very good at beating City, quite weirdly, no matter what form they're in. They're actually really good at it. So I can just envisage it. I don't know. 2 finals in a week. Like, I know all the treble winning times sides do that, like Barca and stuff. We always did Copa del Rey and then Champions League next weekend. But something about that feels weird to me. 2 finals in a week. I think it's hard to focus on both, basically.
De Gea is the most overrated goalkeeper in the history of football.
He is. I can just.
Shots fired.
He's gonna make so many mistakes in that final, dude. I can make a compilation of 30 minutes.
Okay.
This shit, bro.
Ooh, BUGA woke up with some feelings this morning. I
Bro,
love
we
it.
need to do that segment that I'm telling you.
Mate, there wouldn't be any disagreement on De Gea. After I've seen him in a Spain shirt, I've had enough of that bloke. It was like having a dummy in goal in the World Cup in Russia.
Dude, that goal that Ronaldo scored and De Gea just like he was like a kid, bro.
He just passed it into his own net. I was like, this is brilliant. Yeah. This is really fun to play, isn't it? Every time they shoot, they're going to score. Yeah. Absolute clown. One of the strangest World Cup games I've ever watched from Spain, because it was like, we're actually playing really well, but if they shoot, they're going to score because we've got this bloke in goal.
That's too funny. Well, speaking of Man United, before we continue on with what we were talking about with Man City, all of a sudden, folks, if you look at the table, if Manchester United happen to lose to Chelsea, Liverpool have a chance for top 4 in the final match of the season. Is there any hope for Liverpool fans out there? Could Manchester United slip up here against Chelsea and leave the opening on the final day for Liverpool?
No, not anymore. I think Liverpool had the chance, but because who did Liverpool draw to on the weekend? Aston Villa, right?
Aston Villa.
Yeah, that's it. They're done. They nearly got back, but they're done. I think Man U need only 1 point from their final 2 games now. Yeah, I think it. To be fair, the top 4 race was looking really. Liverpool really fought back, but they had to win every game, and they knew that, and they were doing that. But now they've slipped up. It's done.
Can we do a little bit of the segment here, a taster? Can you explain, John? But I want to talk about Ten Hag. I want to see what you think about Ten Hag. Is he like overrated or underrated?
I'll say too early to tell, but inconsistent, of course. And that's been the case for every Man United manager since Alex Ferguson. It's, okay, this is our savior. We did it, everybody. This is the guy. He came in and he got us a 4-0 victory off of a mid-table club. We're back, everybody. Yeah. And then, oops, not so fast. Some of it comes down to the personnel, but I don't know. I think the job for Ten Hag was top 4. So he's going to get it, but just barely. I'll say I'm not uber impressed, and I don't think Manchester United go any further up the table next season.
Yeah. They'll struggle to finish 3rd or 4th again, won't they?
I honestly think Ten Hag is slightly overrated, and I say why. I think when I thought of Ten Hag coming into Manchester United, I thought a really big revolution, like someone like Pep Guardiola, but I think it shows that he's a little bit softer when it comes to dictating the way that he wants to play and just keeping it that way 100%. He's not as stubborn with his philosophy and idea. I think that he realized he had to bend a little bit his hand to his regiment to get this Manchester United where they are right now. Plenty of times they just played very defensive football. He relies quite a lot on the CDM, Casemiro. They played very counter-attacking football. He had to change his philosophy, or not change his philosophy. He just had to forget about that and focus on how to get Manchester United up the table. And I think that actually that for me makes him a little bit slightly overrated, because I was thinking when I think of Ten Hag, I want this manager that is a stubborn, that can get United playing back to a correct way of winning games. Now Manchester United, they don't have, I cannot tell which style of play they're winning each game by. And I feel that's a little bit of, I don't know if that was part of the job description, but as a fan, I think that's kind of what you expect, right? As a supporter, you expect, okay, he's going to get us to a level. And I just haven't seen that. I just feel like you say it's quite more of the same.
But I agree, but I would say, like, look at Xavi at Barca, to be fair. I don't think Xavi had the idea of some away games to be playing 4-4-2, not defensive, but we're relying on our core. We're not that fluid in attack at all. One Rafinha goal, and then let's just, rely on these monsters at the back to get us through games. Like, you look through some of our games in La Liga this season. That's not been 4-3-3, 20 shots on target, dominant, 70% possession, has it? So he's had to adapt as well. And I think he said that in the interview. He said, like, when we were struggling, I put in the 4 midfielders. I was like, I needed to consolidate us because we weren't doing what I wanted us to do. So, and I've seen a bit of that in Man U this season. Where I think you're right, they haven't played that well, in my opinion, for a lot of games. Even the ones they've won, they've hobbled. They've relied massively on Casemiro. You're right. Like, when he's not there, forget they're even a team. In my opinion, that's really worrying, actually, because I don't think that's the same at Barca with any one player, actually.
What do you attribute that to? Why do you attribute that they put, like, Xavi put that extra midfielder and haven't been playing that well? Is it because of time? They need new players? What is it?
It's just I think that they've sorry, John, they've come into clubs who have been really struggling, right? Like they've come into clubs who've been losing a lot of games and were way further down the table than they are. They haven't come into quite nice finished articles, so it's quite easy to slip back into losing habits. So that's what Valverde did at Barca. It's kind of just like restricting the opponent more than actually like promoting yourself in the game. You're basically trying to keep everything within your control and make sure that there aren't many variables that can go wrong in the game. That's what these managers try and do. So what Barca and Xavi have done is say, right, if we can limit teams to like 2 shots on target per game, we think Ter Stegen's going to save them, and he does, and we're going to win 1-0 then. And I think that's what these teams try and do. They think, right, if we can't play that well, then let's at least make ourselves hard to play against.
Yeah. And I think we are perhaps overlooking the difficulty that managers have coming in at top clubs, elite clubs that are facing a rebuild where they have to maintain results and steer the club in a new direction, right? Because there's that can be two different strategies, right? You may have a squad of players that you want to guide towards your style of play, but they're not there yet. And so you can't keep going with those tactics week in, week out, knowing that they're not fully ready to be implemented yet. And so how do you balance the expectation of results with building for the future? And I think I'll say Barcelona fans, I think, have been taking it for granted how well Xavi and the back office have done with that. But that is a very real situation. I think that's probably where Ten Hag is right now, is he recognizes he doesn't have the team the way he wants them to be playing. He maybe doesn't have all the personnel that he would like in terms of the characteristics or abilities that he has to play with. And so I'm curious to see what they do over the summer, and not just in terms of transfers, but in terms of working with the squad and implementing full Ten Hag football. I'm kind of curious what a summer break will do for him.
Yeah.
All right, let's
next?
jump. Google doesn't know where we're going with this. Let's jump back over to Spain. We talked a little bit about Real Madrid, obviously knocked out by Man City. We will be discussing a little bit about how that affects, the interpretation of Barcelona's season later on. But I want to talk about what's been going on with Vinny Jr. because he's a player who, for some reason, is getting most of the attention when it comes to racial abuse in Spain. I know that it happens to more players than Vinny, obviously, but I think the fact that he's a top talent, he's playing for a club that people love to hate, and then there's racism in the world, and La Liga is not doing anything really to combat it. So I wanted to get your all's reaction to what's going on, some thoughts around maybe what La Liga could do, should do to prevent some of these occurrences. So maybe Pablo, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Vinicius is a quite a hated footballer. I don't think we're like the biggest fans of his attitude. I don't think many people in Spain are either. Right? He's a bit of a nightmare, basically. I think. I do think his attitude stinks sometimes on the pitch. So
he's an antagonist. He is. We can say that. Yeah.
And I think you're right. His style of play, the way he takes people on, he screams at the ref, he points at himself, he laughs in people's face, like he does it on purpose. So I think that immediately makes you a player that people mock. I mean, that was the same with Neymar. To be fair, similar anyway. I don't think Neymar had as bad of attitude actually, where he was like screaming about and like pointing and doing that sort of stuff. Actually,
the caveat is that happens in Spain because we watch La Liga. I think you ask people like in your dorm about Vinicius, they say he's class, he's top talent, he's amazing. They don't look at Vinicius as a
they just see the highlight reels.
Exactly, and and that is something that we have to be careful with, because I think that if you give Vinicius the more more screen time, people can realize perhaps the player he is. But it's not that. I mean, it's difficult, right? It's difficult because you have to be able to control yourself when everyone is just kicking you and destroying you.
I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking about how the different reactions that people have right? And this comes up a lot, obviously, because this is the world that we live in. There's discrimination, there's racism, and some people see that as a barrier, as something that they can't move past. But then you have players like Danny Alves who will be like, "Oh, you're gonna throw a banana at me? Watch me eat this banana and then go play ball." It's the big part in the language for all the young listeners out there, but it's a big fuck you to the racists. You know what I mean? And I'll say this: if I had a son or daughter that was experiencing discrimination, I would tell them to do exactly that. I'd tell them, be undeniable, give them a big fuck you, do what you need to do. Don't live your life to spite those people.
Yeah.
But if you have the opportunity to show them up and to prove them wrong, do so. Now, listen, I say that as a white guy living in America, so it's not like I'm experiencing it firsthand myself by any means. So I can't really point any fingers in judgment of how people react. But here's what I'll say. I'm disappointed in La Liga not doing more to prevent the actions in the stadium. La Liga as an organization cannot stop racism. They cannot stop racists from entering the stadium. But there are some steps that you can take to prevent, I'll say, collective abuse, right? Here's what I'm thinking. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this.
Yeah.
If there's one person in the stadium who yells something out, shouts something, I think you can get that person out of the stadium. It can be pretty obvious. If there are a group of supporters that are collectively making monkey sounds, making racial slurs at players, and it's obvious that it is a group of people, the next match, no supporters or no fans in the supporters section. And if it continues in that match, the match is stopped and it's not continued behind closed doors, your team loses that match.
Yeah.
If you implement those rules, I think the actions stop. Again, this will not stop racism, but you will prevent the actions in the stadium and save these players from receiving all of that abuse. What are your thoughts? Where am I getting it wrong?
No, I think it's spot on. I think if they did those two things, that would be perfect. But I think Spain has a racism problem. I think Vinicius said it, and I think he's spot on. And I think people forget that Spain were under an extremely right-wing dictator until 1975. So that's not 45 like Nazi Germany, right? We've seen Germany, who obviously are not in the 30 years ahead in that regard, but they kind of are. They're a very progressive place now. You go to someone like Berlin, and it's very forward. I think Spain, to me, and I think Vinicius is right when he says this, when he says Spain has a racism problem, because I think they do. I think they see a black player running down the wing, being a bit of a clown, being an antagonist, like we say, and I think they can't control themselves. They go to the racism card, and they will insult him on his skin colour. And I think you're right that also La Liga has a problem, because the way they handled it was terrible. So the first thing we saw about this was in the Madrid derby, right at the start of the season, when Vinicius scored against Atletico Madrid, and he did his little dance, right?
Yep.
And that's, I think, we saw hurls of racist abuse towards Vinicius from Atletico Madrid fans. And if I'm right, they didn't get a stadium ban. People weren't banned. In fact, there was actually quite like a dodgy statement that came out from La Liga where they were kind of like, they were understood the Atleti fans. They were like, well, if you get provoked in a Madrid derby, tensions are going to be high. They validated the behaviour. And we saw Javier Tebas did a tweet the other day after Vinicius, and he wrote it out. And before he even said, whilst we discriminate against racism in La Liga and that this was wrong what happened to Vinicius, I think the first thing he said in the tweet was, you can't go screaming in the referee's face. So they get it all wrong, like backwards. So I'm not a fan of Vinicius' attitude. And I think it actually is a bit of a stain on Real Madrid itself. And I think we spoke about that before, the fact that probably quite noble people like Ancelotti think, what are you doing, mate? But he can't be racially abused, no matter how much of a clown he is, and then have that reaction from La Liga and have that reaction from Spain. But I just think the Spanish public in a whole, I don't want to say they're quite racist, because that's a wrong statement. And my experience from Spain is that they're not racist people. But I do think with football, especially these ultras groups, by the way, I think if you know those guys who ran on the pitch on Espanyol at the end of the game, I'm telling you now, guys, those people they're not fond of black people, okay? Like, they're just not.
Yeah.
Those sorts of people behind the goal. Same at Mestalla. The blokes at Mestalla, they're kind of like Barca had a group like this as well. And this is a problem with ultra and hooliganism in Spain. They're kind of like Nazis. They're very radical, hardcore people who kind of die and kill for the club, quite literally. So There's a problem with that in Spain. I think Vinicius is right.
Yeah, it's lazy for me. You know what I mean? Like pointing to somebody's skin color when we're talking about a sporting event. Uh, be more clever, be more creative, have some actual criticism. You know what I mean? Other than the skin color. It's disheartening. It's lazy. I wish La Liga would do something more because like I feel like it's a simple solution. Because here's the thing:
Yeah.
America has the same problem. America, obviously, way bigger than Spain, but America has whole communities that are pretty obviously racist. There are sections of the country that you may or may not want to go to if you're a colored person
Yeah.
and or a person of color, excuse me. And I'll say that we don't have the same level of incidents in stadium though. That is the difference. It's a little bit more under the rug, I think, in America. And I don't know what the difference is over in Europe because it does seem to be a little bit more outspoken still, maybe. I don't know. And Pablo, I wonder if it is a little bit of the timeline, like you said, going from 1940 Germany, Spain still had their dictator all the way up through the 70s. 30 years time does make a huge difference there in terms of cultural development,
I think so. I think when you consider that some of the fans in the stadium, right, their parents, there's a big chance would have been, staunch Franco supporters. What does that mean? What does that mean for how they brought up their kid? And I think that gets massively forgotten in Spain, though. The whole Franco era gets forgotten in Spain because I think it's such a wonderful place. But we can't forget, and I'm not saying Franco was worse than Hitler, and that's kind of like a history debate, right? But I think we forget that Spain had a really right-wing, horrible dictator until 1975, really recently, So after my mum was born, in Spain for nearly 10 years, she grew up technically with Franco as a dictator. So we can't forget this. And I think that's why it's embedded still in Spanish society. And I think there is a racism problem in football. We're seeing it. And I actually wonder, when I ever see like a player like Vinicius, like go to collect a ball from a corner and run past the ultra section, and I see them hurling abuse, I think there got to be some racism in that because I guarantee there is.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you on that. All right. So official statement from the pod. We are against racism. Just to make that clear. Official stance. We're coming out. We're very courageous on this pod, tackling the big issues. BUGA, do you have any other thoughts before we continue on?
I just think it's very simple. Like you say, I think you need to take action. You need to be coherent with the punishments and actions that you do. I do think that there are better ways to handle this, and I'm gonna give a little bit of criticism, not to Vinicius, but in general. Like when you talk about it, when you talk about it in a post-match interview, right? That is not the moment to fix that problem. Is when, like Tebas said on his tweet, and I hate Tebas, by the way, when he says like, you haven't showed up to your meetings when we can discuss this. That is where you need to discuss it, and I think that's a problem about racism, and I see that every day here as well in Peru, in South America. I think in South America, like, we are all very racist, and even like in everything, like when you play, like I play a video game, and the first thing that comes up is racism. But it's like, it's so like, what do I tell you? It's so, here it is, and I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised as how much does it actually hurt Vinicius. Like he and I praise him for that, for being like a someone who spoke person, because here, like, it's so normal. Like people actually, like, you say that and they laugh and they take it not seriously. But I'm actually liking it how much he takes it, because it's a problem. But it comes down to a fact in a moment where, for those people, for here as well, it's so like normal to be affected by racism and to give racism like and shout racist words, right? It's racist words. It's so normal. So it's like, it's hard to break from the mold, it's hard to break from, say, okay, this is actually a problem, we need to take it further. So that's good to Vinicius. But like I said, is you need to do it in the appropriate ways, because you're not going to get anywhere writing
Yeah.
like, why do you write in Twitter a massive paragraph of like 50,000 words? How do you get to the problem of this? Fix it. Like, that's where I think, like, of course everything helps because it brings problem, brings attention. That's what you want to see. I open my Twitter feed and all I see is these things about Vinicius and racism in the Liga,
Yeah.
which is good to see. That's what you want. You want exposure. But then how do you take that from a place where racism, what do you call it? Racism is harvested in like Twitter and the digital space? How do you take that to the real acts and things like that? You have to fix it. And maybe I of course know that maybe Vinicius knows more about us than what we know. Maybe that's why a reason why he has already talked to Tebas in the past. Maybe he's like, okay, this guy isn't gonna change. This guy is not gonna have a firm hand. Maybe he knows something like that. So go to the player association, have them pressure a little bit more. I don't know, but there has to be a plan in place. And at the end of the day, we shouldn't be relying on just a kid, a left winger, of a guy from Pablo's age. I think he's 22 years old. Between me and Pablo, to be fixing racism in an entire country, like we cannot be expecting that.
Now that's a great point, Buga. This is a young man on a world stage dealing with a very complex problem that has a lot of emotion tied to it. So I think just as a human, I think I can give Vinny some grace in terms of how he responds to it. But I think you're right. Ultimately, is that you got to be a little bit more strategic and tactical in terms of how you approach getting some resolution to these issues. All right. Well, let's turn things back to the football then, because Real Madrid did slip up, and now we're in third place in La Liga. Is it safe to say that Barcelona have had a more successful year than Real Madrid now that they are out of Champions League, flipping in La Liga table? They have the Copa del Rey title, but can we officially say it now? With Barcelona lifting the La Liga title, have they had a better season than Real Madrid for the first time in I don't know how many years?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah,
They definitely have. They've stormed Real Madrid in La Liga. And I think the only reason people were probably saying we hadn't is just because I think everyone kind of expected Real Madrid to pull the rabbit out of the hat in the Champions League again, right? But they didn't just get beaten by Manchester City. They were absolutely walked over. They looked like a bunch of amateurs. They literally looked like a second division team. They were that they were that bad, and Man City were that good. The golf was like that. It wasn't even a tie. So, I think Real Madrid leaving that season in that way, they're now, like you say, third in La Liga. They keep losing. They're going to have a very low points tally. Going to finish about, I don't know how many points behind Barca, 15 or whatever. They won the Copa del Rey, but I think anyone who knows anything about Real Madrid knows that they couldn't care less about that tournament. And then that's it, So I think it's a poor season for Real Madrid. I don't think they played well. They'll be fine. I'm not worried about their future or anything, but they, it wasn't a good season, and I think it was for Barcelona.
I think Barcelona this year, even though we won La Liga, it looks like underwhelming for the general public, I think. And that's just the price you have to. I think it does look underwhelming for the general public. I feel it's like people don't get for granted how hard it was this La Liga to win, or how hard it will be next time. I think that's the most important thing. The other day I was thinking back to. I was watching this guy in this Argentinian streamer. He's amazing, by the way. His name is Double, and he was ranking Messi's primes like every single season, like ranking how good Messi was in those seasons. I think that's something we can do in the future, maybe. And you just think about how much actually we took for granted that Messi was there and called Barca a shit team. Like he literally just brought he was 3 games away from giving Barcelona single-handedly a treble. He in seasons like the one where Koeman was in the side, Messi also carried that team as well for the Copa del Rey and stuff like that. So it's like we just take for granted those things, and I feel that now when we take a look between what Barca and Real Madrid are, back to the original question, I think it's going to take quite a bit more to kind of build outside from the shadow of what Real Madrid are. Like they should be mutually, they shouldn't be linked.
Yeah. Yeah. How much does Barcelona's lead at the top of the table have to do with it feeling a bit anticlimactic? Like, would it feel more successful if Real Madrid were nipping at our heels and we had to win it on the final day, for example? Would it feel bigger then? What do you think, Pablo?
110%, yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's the reason it feels so dead, because it's like this is the biggest season we won this season, right? The biggest trophy we've won this season, but we knew we were going to win it in like February or March, so it doesn't feel as it doesn't feel as big. So if Real were on our tail and then we nicked it off them at the last minute, everyone would be like, yeah, wow, brilliant Barcelona. But I can't help think back to even last season, like the state we were in. And the way that the Barcelona board and Xavi transformed the team over the summer, played so much better, got the signing spot on, the squad structure spot on. We were an absolute wreck, actually. And even when we had little bright periods in last season, I think I remember the last game at the Camp Nou, and nothing was playing on it, but I think we lost 2-0 to Villarreal, was it, or something? It was like, what a crap season again. Like Xavi had revived us, yeah, but we got up to second, I think. But it was just like we were just terrible, and it didn't look like we were close to doing anything really. And we were all waiting, of course, on the palancas and stuff, and to wait to see if we could do anything in the summer. And we're back on track now, basically. And I think Busquets said it at the end of his speech. He was like, "I'm leaving, but this is just a start for this team." And I completely agree. When you look around the team, I think Barca can be the best team in Europe soon. I do. I think they've got the best young core in Europe. I don't think you can get a group of players like that anywhere else. Balde, Araujo, Xavi, Pedri. I think even just those four is just outrageous. And then you look to slightly older ones like Koundé and Christensen, and the balance in the team is perfect. Plus a few signings this summer, and hopefully they don't mess anything too much up. And I could be looking at my favourite man, Messi, and when I say please don't mess anything up, unfortunately. But I just hope, we keep on this path, because I think the future could be special.
Yeah. There are a lot of transfer rumors. Some I'm buying a little bit more than others. We've talked about Messi a bit.
Yeah.
Can I get your all's thoughts on these Kimmich rumors? BUGA, is there any actual hope of Barcelona tempting Kimmich over, or are these just rumors by the media? Is this Kimmich? I think I saw somebody saying that he was up for a contract negotiation sometime soon. Maybe this is influencing that. What's going on, BUGA? Is there anything to get excited about for Barca fans?
I'm actually very happy that you talked to me for this one. First of all, I don't believe that. I think Kimmich is an incredible player, but he's like way out of the grasps of Barcelona. And I'm worried. I'm really worried. Every year at this stage, I kind of close my eyes and I look at next season and I can visualize transfers that we need, right? That makes sense, that build a team. This is the first season that I've had since watching Barcelona since 2009, that I do that and I don't visualize anything. I feel I don't. I when you see those pictures of people on Twitter going like, we're gonna get Victor Roque, we're gonna get Gundogan, we're gonna get Messi, we're gonna get Amrabat, we're gonna get this guy and that guy.
Yeah. And João Cancelo.
Yeah, I think I close my eyes and I think, and none of the signings make sense in my eyes. Like, no, they do make sense. I mean, like, I would love Amrabat in the team, but what I mean is like, I don't see a plan.
They're not realistic.
I don't see a roadmap. I don't see where Barcelona want to get to. What do they want to build? If they want to buy Pavard, it makes sense, because then it means that they're going to keep Koundé in that position. They need a substitute for that, a player that can do that job. If you want to bring Gundogan, is he going to act just as an extra midfielder? Are you going to get rid of Kessie? What's the plan there? If you're going to what are you going to do with Rafinha? We're going to do with Dembele. You bring Messi in. And those questions, those things that I just wonder. Is it a given that Ansu Fati and Ferran Torres are just leaving out the door? Like, is that a fact? That's a sort of ideas I'm planning that I don't have. I have no idea what we want to play, because Xavi can go with the same formation that he used this year, with no left winger. He can go just 4-3-3. We have no idea what he's going to do. So that's why I think it's so difficult to try and plan out these teams. Someone like Kimmich will fit in perfectly in whatever you do, which is great, but that's not really the way that I think a team should be run. You should be looking at what you want to build, which pieces enter that, not I got the pieces, let's build. That's normally what happens when a manager takes over at the start. Not with a team like a Xavi, like a Barcelona, where you know exactly where they want to be towards to. I think I honestly, and I hear it is not, I don't think this is a twisted take. I just feel that bringing Messi in will be so costly, like for the team.
Yeah.
Like there's
In terms
so
of the progress,
you put on standby the rebuild, and it's like get the best out of him for now, and then you have to start all over again. And I'm not too sure whether I agree with that. I think that when I want to think of Barcelona, like the other day, I'm gonna be honest. The other day, I was trying to build like Barcelona for career mode, FIFA for the next season, and I was thinking like when I close my eyes and I visualize more what makes sense. For me, it makes more sense. I close my eyes and I think it makes more sense for Barcelona getting. I close my eyes and I see Lewandowski, Messi in a double, like in a duo, and then bang, out of nowhere, a Neymar coming in on a loan. That makes sense, and that is
Shut
stupid.
no.
That is stupid. You know what I want to see is I want to see them. I want to see Lewandowski, and I want to see Dembele being world class. I want to see another left winger just rising to the level, being world class. That is what should happen, if you know what I mean. You understand what I mean? Like where I'm heading towards to.
I do.
It's not coming back to the old things. It's not like
Yeah.
like for instance now Manchester City. You look at Manchester City, you see Haaland, you see Grealish, and you go, "Wow, fucking Grealish, amazing player."
Yeah.
That is something where Barcelona used to make players, get a player and make him better. Now it's like we just get a player, he stays the same level, and then we go back to another player that is better. And I feel that's not where I want to be, especially in the front line.
Yeah, it's almost like we're not done piecing this team together. And to your point, bringing Messi back in can be disruptive. If we had a set team, if this was maybe 1 year down the road and Messi was like, hey, let me come back and just be a cherry on top, I'd be all for it. But the fact that we haven't really sorted out who the future is, Dembele, Rafinha, Ansu, it's not Ferran Torres. We know that. We don't really know what the future is. And we're going to have to let somebody go. We're going to give up a potential investment to have Messi come back for a couple seasons. So I'm going to have feels either way. If we miss the opportunity to bring Messi back, I'll probably have a slight regret. If we bring him back and end up having to force out someone like a Rafinha or an Ansu, might look down the road in 5 years and say that was the wrong choice.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I got such mixed feelings. Where you at with things, Pablo?
Yeah, I don't think we need an outrageous summer. So centre back, we're getting Inigo Martinez for free. That's not done. They won't sign a left back. Might not even sign a right back, to be honest. But if they do, maybe someone like Pavard will kind of settle on loan. Midfield, I think Gundogan comes in to replace Kessie. I don't think he'd come in on top of Kessie. So I think
Kessie shouldn't go. He's so good.
Well, maybe Gundogan won't come then, because I've heard Man City are offering him a longer contract now as well because of how good he's been. So maybe he won't come. And then I think we need the Busquets replacement. I actually agree with Xavi on that. I think Zubimendi would be a really good signing. It's for the future. It's not like a stopgap. It's just like, now we want a Busquets replacement. That's our guy. And I think if I actually wouldn't be that annoyed if we spent 50, 60 million on him, because I think that's a worthwhile signing for the future. Then you look to the attack. I don't think Messi fits into the 4-3-3 anymore, unfortunately. No. But you get a sub for Lewandowski, and then you get a left winger, right? I think that's it. I don't think it needs to be an outrageous summer for Barcelona, but I know they'll make it an outrageous summer. I know how Laporta and Alemany work, and there's going to be swaps coming up, and Gerard Romero's going to be like outside of the Camp Nou as like Kimmich and Neymar walk in or something, or like you know how it goes with this summer and Barca and Romero. So like it's not going to be normal, and I'm sure what we're thinking now is the plan is going to swing around as the summer goes on. So, but I hope at the end of it we end with a competitive squad like we have this season. With structure.
Do you want me to tell you my summer? What I think would be a good summer for Barcelona?
Hit us with it, Buga.
I honestly think that for me the summer would be, like Pablo said, Inigo Martinez in the center back position. Fine. Get João Cancelo as a lone player in. He can play both left back and right back. He's going to be a substitute. I don't care. He wants to leave, but sure. You downgraded. You ruined your career. Why the hell do you leave Manchester City? Like, why would you do that? Okay, come and downgrade to Barcelona. Then in the midfield, keep Kessie or Gundogan, one of them.
Yeah.
And then bring someone like in my eyes, I would bring. People forget. Oh, we need this pivot like Busquets. Subimendi, I like it. 60 million for a 24-year-old. I'm like. I go like it's mainly like Ferran Torres. I look at it as a signing very similar to Ferran Torres. If he doesn't work, we're gonna be screwed. So I honestly would go for someone like Amrabat. I think he will be a player more suited to us, particularly if Messi comes. If Messi comes, we need someone who can just mop up everyone. He's the best center midfielder, defensive midfielder, I think, when it comes to recovering the ball that I've seen in quite a while. So I would give someone like him, and I know he wants to play for the shirt and that, and I like that. And then, if Messi doesn't come, we need a left winger. And if we can get Neymar on loan, I'll take it.
Get out of here, BUGA. No.
That would be my side.
No.
I think everything.
Are you actually being serious?
I'm being serious.
You want
BUGA's
Neymar
been
on
playing
loan?
too much FIFA.
He has, but like, Neymar
is
is like Messi. Like Messi can't play right wing anymore. Like, he doesn't stay wide enough, and like he hasn't got the pace. He doesn't take people on. Neymar will come in and like come deep and create.
Yeah, but the problem
he'll be like where Pedri is.
I can deal with a left wing more than the right wing because on the right wing,
but if
on the right wing is way better.
Neymar on loan in 2023, that would be outrageous. That would be outrageous.
Yeah, listen, if we want Neymar in the stands, he can just come and celebrate as a PSG player, all right? Because if we bring him back, he's just going to be hanging out with Dembele in the stands injured for most of the season. So I'm not a fan of bringing Neymar back whatsoever.
Why are we not fixing our left wing? That's the main question that I have.
Yeah, we won't. We won't fix it.
We won't fix it. That's not.
We'll either do like Carrasco, Abde, or we'll just leave it, you know, or maybe we'll just keep Dembele, Rafinha, and Messi, and then we've got options to move either Dembele or Rafinha to the left, but they're not very good there.
I want Messi, but I just don't want Messi.
Me too, man. Me too.
Yeah,
Rafinha has to stay. We all agree 100%.
Yeah.
Rafinha has to stay. For me, what I would love to see happen.
Neymar alone.
No, what I was about to say is I'd love to see a big offer come in for Dembele, but unfortunately, if we don't get him to sign a contract, he's got that 50 million euro buyout, and someone's going to take that.
Yeah,
you know that to me is his actual value, and maybe even a bit of a deal on that one. Yeah, I don't know.
No, we're gonna tell Dembele, dude. I don't know why people are so adamant about selling Dembele. Like, he needs to renew, that's a fact. But like in the other game against Real Sociedad, he was the only player doing anything. That's what I like about Dembele.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
He's so oblivious to football and what he's doing that he just plays good, and I like that. Hopefully, he needs to stay. He's the only player that I can see in our team in an attacking sense that I can see him going that extra step and being like someone who eventually everyone looks up, because already people in the like footballers and that environment, they look at Dembele and they go, "Oh fuck, he's an incredible talent." But for the public, we don't. And I feel that it's about time that we do finally, with hopefully some more consistency next season.
Yeah. Well, Barcelona, we've talked about this, have a problem. If you remove Dembele and Rafinha, we do not have pace up top.
No.
If we go into next year's campaign with Lewandowski and Messi and Neymar as our front three, we're going to get smoked, because there will be a high press a la Anfield, and it'll be chaos for Barcelona.
But
we have to have speed up top.
When I hear you're both 100% in agreement that Messi's coming. When I think of when you talk, how you talk, it's like you already guarantee that Messi.
It feels like it is. I think
he will. I think he will actually. Yeah.
And I'll say the closer that we get to the reality, the more hesitant I actually am. Like the emotion of me wants Messi to come back. I want to see him wearing the Blaugrana kit again. I want him to have a proper send off. All of those things. But then I go, ooh, but what are we sacrificing? We're sacrificing one of our potential wingers. We're sacrificing the team chemistry that we've been building. I mean, this is a very different club than what Lionel Messi left. So I would never tell him no. But if it ends up not working out for another reason, like if Messi ends up saying, actually, Barcelona, I'd rather not come back. I'd rather go to MLS. I'd rather go to Saudi Arabia. I
think
think
he's
I'll be a
coming.
little bit relieved.
I think he'll be coming because
Me
of
too.
what I think. Like, there's a good chance he's coming because mainly he's gonna have like Antonella going in his ear, like, "Hey, we need to come back to Barcelona. We need to come back to Barcelona." They've been living in a hotel all this time in Paris. The kids like in the school here make sense, everything. So I think that's why they're pushing. Maybe he'll join Espanyol or some shit like that.
Yeah, Antonella wants it. I don't know if many people outside of Antonella want it though.
Yeah,
in the Messi camp. Antonella and the kids want it, but that's about it, maybe.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they're most important.
That's a lot, though. Yeah.
That's a lot, yeah.
It's only my whole family. No big deal.
The only thing that I wanted to point out is I also feel that, for instance, if Barcelona let go of some, because I think the player that Barcelona can get the most money on, we all agree is Rafinha as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We have Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, all gonna bid mainly like 80 million euros,
80,
something like that.
Yeah. No.
I also agree, and I don't know about you guys, I also feel that we can rescue, if that happens, we can rescue one player, and that is Ferran Torres. I think Ferran Torres as a right winger is different than as a left winger or forward. Whenever he's played on the right wing, I think he's been great. I think that's the only player we can rescue. The one that scares me, that worries me, is Ansu Fati. I don't know how we can rescue that player at the moment. I don't know.
I think that's got to be a loan for me. I'd be hesitant to sell. I would love to see him get loaned out, and maybe somewhere in Spain even.
Mate,
what do you think,
Ferran Torres on right wing, if we're selling Rafinha, forget the season then. I'm not having that. I'm not having that.
But that's
Here's
problem.
What I would
We're
do.
So poor.
I would
hate
sell Ferran, even though we may not recoup our investment.
Yeah.
I would loan out Ansu.
Yep.
I would sign Dembele to a longer contract because we can't enter next season on his final year.
Yep.
What do you say about Dembele renew?
Yeah. I would renew Dembele.
Keep Rafinha.
I would bring back Messi. So that my main 4 attackers that I'm using for the year, Messi, Lewandowski, Dembele, Rafinha.
Yeah.
You can come up with the right combinations depending on your opponent with those 4. Who cares?
No one.
It almost doesn't matter. Here's what I would do. I would have Lewandowski play as forward. I would have Messi playing underneath him, but slightly to the right, and have Dembele or Rafinha on that right wing.
Yeah.
So you have Messi play on the right-hand side, can cut in on his left foot. And then if you have center back step up to stop the shot, you have Lewandowski in there making a clever diagonal run. If you stop Messi from going inside, he can turn outside and have pace with Rafinha or Dembele on the overlap. Like, good luck defending that. And then if you put the ball at Messi's feet and it's his decision whether he's going to turn in and shoot, find Lewandowski, find Dembele, good luck stopping that. I think that's our best option. And then you have those late overlapping runs from Balde on the left-hand side. You don't necessarily need that left winger.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He's the key,
on attack this year, we had three center backs. Then we had pivot with Busquets and De Jong. Then we have 2 advanced playmakers, and then we have two wingers that technically one is Balde and the other is Dembele. And Rafinha can also do that job, and then Lewandowski. So it would be, in my eyes, it would be like, I agree with you, it would be like a Christensen, Araujo, Koundé, De Jong, another pivot here, Dembele, Messi, Pedri, Balde, and then Lewandowski.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Treble.
Okay. Treble coming. Yep. Enjoy yours this year, Man City. Next one's ours. We'll see how it goes. We're gonna wrap up here, but I didn't want to skip over Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Tuchel not given the results. Pablo, how are we feeling about things? Does this hurt your love of Tuchel at all?
It actually does. It actually does upset me. I'm not gonna lie. I saw the other day and I thought, come on, Thomas, like, all the prop I've given you.
Come on, Thomas.
Come on, Thomas, friend of the pod.
God. Just want to give him like a hug, you know. But
come here, Tom. Come here.
Yeah. But he's got to be so disappointed. And as of the Bayern hierarchy, I mean, it would be the most Dortmund thing ever to boss it on the last day, but I actually don't think they will now. So the fact that Bayern have lost the league is embarrassing on its own because they can't be doing that. Nagelsmann's going to be laughing because I thought he was on quite a good path, hooked him to get Tuchel to win the treble, went out of Champions League and the Cup in about 2 weeks, and now has lost the league as well. Went really badly. Like, I still back him. I still think he's one of the best managers in the world. So I think, next season they'll be able to turn it around and win the Bundesliga, and we'll see what else. I don't think the Champions League, though, at all. But it just hasn't gone that well. And I think that's the issue with Bayern. It's like, well, you're probably only going to win the league, right? I don't think you're good enough to win the Champions League, so it doesn't almost matter who you've got in. So you've got to be careful for what you aim for, but terrible, terrible news for them as a club, and actually for Tuchel. He'll be so disappointed.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's that firing Nagelsmann never made sense to me. It just didn't.
Yeah.
Wait till the end of the season. But some of these clubs are just too impatient. They're saying, "Oh, you're doing okay, but you're not hitting the highest benchmarks that we gave for you this season. Oh, you're out." I'm gonna point to Jesse Marsch at Leeds. He was keeping them out of the relegation zone. He wasn't getting them in top 6 or anything. But now where are you at, Leeds? All right, so I'm going to point to clubs need to be a little bit more patient when managers aren't exactly up to par. If they're just under, sometimes waiting it out and letting the end of the season come is the best move.
It's such a strange one with Nagelsmann. I just don't get it. Like, and I am a ruthless. You guys know how ruthless I am with managers, so I can't sit here and say to give people time. Eh?
I said the trophy king over here.
Yeah. But with Nagelsmann, like, they were technically on hand for a treble. I thought they handled PSG really, really well over 2 legs. Completely limited them. And look, PSG were terrible. But to be fair, with Messi and Mbappe, nightmares can happen, and all of a sudden they can kill you. And they gave them nothing over 2 legs. No goals conceded. Dispatched of them. Still in the cup. Top of the Bundesliga. I'm certain they would have won the Bundesliga. Look, fine. Maybe they didn't see him as the guy for the project long term. And as you say, John, maybe wait till the end of the season. But I'm not sure I got sucking him to say we're really good, but we just want to be. It's not like they were saying we want to be that much better. They're saying we're here. We just want to be like here. Like, that's a really weird thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, didn't make a lot of sense, and I think they're paying the price for it.
Yeah, they are.
I think so. All right. Anything to wrap us up on, boys? Any final topics on your minds?
I want to know quickly, who do you think is going to be relegated in Premier League?
Ooh, for EPL?
Let me check, mate.
The Leeds decision, you're right. Jesse Marsch was so wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know. It was a fun team, and they were above the relegation zone. That's all I'll say.
Oh, God. Leicester's game tonight is huge. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, if Leicester
wow
can get points, it puts pressure on Everton. I think Leeds are out. I don't see them beating Tottenham. I'm going to say Leicester save themselves and Everton go down. So I'm going Southampton, Leeds, and Everton get relegated.
I'm going to say Everton stay up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Everton stay up.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I wanted Leeds so bad to.
Yeah, no, I think Everton stay up. Everton have got Bournemouth at home on the last day as well.
That is true.
Because I think Leicester lose tonight away to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Newcastle are still technically playing for Champions League to secure Champions League, right? Yeah. They will get it either way, but they're technically playing for it.
Yep.
That is accurate. All right, we'll see. It's going to come down to that final day, and then, of course, we'll be doing a recap the following Monday, and we'll get into Champions League final in upcoming episodes. Lots more to discuss. Before we wrap up, everybody's favorite segment, FC Cincinnati updates. Still top of the table. A big 3-2 victory over our state rivals, the Columbus Crew. They came down to Cincinnati. We kicked their butts, and they drove all the way back home. 3-2 victory, dramatic victory. We started out 2-0. Columbus came back, and then a winner in the second half from Junior Moreno. Beautiful football from FC Cincinnati right now, by the way. If you have a chance to watch, they're playing some good football.
I can't believe how well you're doing, John. That must have been a good watch. In the stadium you watched it, yeah?
Oh, it was a wild one. Best match of the season so far. I was maybe 10 rows behind the goal, and the crowd was into it.
Yeah, good atmosphere now.
How is it to watch behind the goal?
As long as you're not watching through the net, it's good. You got to be high up enough that you can see the whole pitch without watching through the net.
It's world class, mate. It's the best place to be behind the ultras.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like I
Oh,
demand
yeah.
it. Do you know how they do Barca tickets where you can either pick goal to goal, they north or south?
Mhm.
So they put me in the south goal. But you know what's coming? The alarms are coming, by the way, guys. So if they come,
Yeah, we
they're coming.
gotta wrap up.
But anyway,
Wrap
we
it
were put in the south goal, and I walked around to the north goal because if I go to Camp Nou, I have to go behind the ultras. I refuse to go anywhere else.
Yeah, it's not the best view for the game, but it is the best atmosphere, particularly when you're attacking the goal that's right in front of you.
Yeah.
When you score a goal and the harassment for the goalkeeper of the opposition, oh my, it's so much fun because you know they can hear you. When the action's down on the other end and you yell something and you're only 10, you know they hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a good time. And when you guys come visit, we'll go to a match.
Yes.
And we'll shout harassment to the goal.
Abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make it happen.
Not racist. Just
Not racist. Yes, not racist. Just about his football and you know, that's it.
Bro, tie your shoelaces, you piece of shit.
Yeah, we'll keep it classy, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it. That's all I got. We'll wrap up there. Again, thank you all for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, give the 5-star rating, all the things. Tell your friends. Come hang out with us every Monday. We'll have another episode next week. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us here on the Engine Room.
Bye-bye.
Bye.